everybody ready? So my great pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's my great pleasure to introduce you the next speaker, Pati. He is a professor and he is from the Department of Biotechnology at Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar in Punjab, which is where I come from too. And his area of interest is medicinal plant biotechnology and agri-biotechnology.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. Good morning all. It's a pleasure to be here. And I thank the organizer for giving this opportunity. And all my previous dialogue speakers have set the ball rolling. And my area is plant sciences. So my focus today will be plant biotechnology, how it is helping creating or building a healthy society. Building a healthy society and catalyzing the bioeconomy. So when we talk about United Nations New Millennium Development Goal, the major emphasis has been given to health, food and nutritional security and environment. It's rightly so because COVID has taught us how important is health and now it is in the top of the global agenda. Similarly, the population is increasing in an alarming rate and there is a challenge to have access to food and access to nutritional food. So this is another gray area. The third is environment. Environment is of course very, very important, whether it is air, whether it is water, whether it is soil, it's very, very important. And these three are inextricably linked. And I'm reminded of the statement of Guru Harlem. This is a very influential lady, two-time Prime Minister of Norway, and she was Director General of World Health Organization. And one of the statements which I quote, you cannot achieve environmental security and human development without addressing the basic issues of health and nutrition. So you can understand how important is health and nutrition. When we talk about health and nutrition, basically the theme of this conference, I'm happy that we've been given a platform to this very important issue. And when we talk about health and nutrition, you cannot undermine the role of plants. They play a very, very important role. So plant as a source of medicine is a very ancient science. I mean, it is mentioned in our scriptures, in our literature, the role of plants as a medicine. What's up? It's not moving. So when we talk about plants and medicine, the statistic says that 80% of world population, they depend on the plant as a source of medicine. And in fact, quarter of the medicines, they are derived from the plants. And if you look at the economic aspect, the plant-based medicine, the global market is around 62 billion US dollar, and in India it is 1 billion US dollar, and the annual growth is 10 to 15%, and it accounts for 30 to 40% of health expenditure. And if you look at the projection is amazing. In around 2050, it is expected to reach around 7 trillion US dollar. So you can see the magnitude in which it is growing. So there are different parts of the plant which is used as a source of medicine: leaf, root, rhizome, and stem. So these are different parts, and these parts are chosen based on the phytochemicals that are present in appreciable amount. So as far as the bioactive compounds or the phytochemical is concerned, it all depends on the biosynthetic route, but the major phytochemicals are alkaloids, it could be flavonoids, it could be phenolics, it could be phytosterol, it could be glycoside, and they make huge market. And if you look at the potential of this, it is huge. You can see the alkaloid market, you can see the terpenes, phytosterols, you can see the glycoside. It's a huge market, and that's why people are working on this area, but all is not that well. There are areas which need to be focused, there are challenges which need to be addressed, and the challenge is because of the potential of this medicinal plant. There has been indiscriminate harvesting from the natural habitat, and there is a huge gap between the demand and supply. And then there is lack of agrotechnology, propagation methods for this medicinal plant, and then we have inadequate research in this area. So genetic improvement need to be there, and then poor harvest and quality issues are there, and these need to be addressed so that they can be integrated to the mainstream of medicine. So my lab focuses on three aspects. One is the conservation of some important medicinal plants because they are used as a source of phytochemicals, develop technology for rapid propagation of medicinal plant, and the third is on genetic improvement of medicinal plant, particularly to increase the biomass, to secondary metabolites, and stress tolerance biotic as well as abiotic. We have been extensively using ex situ conservation approach using plant tissue culture. So this is rightly so because plant tissue culture, you can grow the plants throughout the year and they are genetically and phytochemically stable, so can be used for clinical work. So I will discuss some of the work that we are doing. This is a plant known as Rhodiola imbricata. This plant is growing in high altitude in Trans-Himalayan region, 14,000 to 18,000 feet in the cold desert. If you have heard about our Prime Minister Narendra Modi Saab addressing the nation in Article 370, he mentioned about one plant, that is solo plant, and this is the solo plant. And this plant has lot of medicinal property. This is very good for brain health, and this is anti-cancer property. This is a lot of medicinal property, but one which brought our attention is the anti-hypoxic property. In fact, the defense personnel which they climb to high altitude, they face this problem, and hence the Defense Research Organization gave us a project to propagate this plant so that it can be utilized as anti-hypoxia, and we have been studying on this. So this property, medicinal property, is because of a lot of metabolites that are present in this plant, and it has been extensively used in that particular Leh Ladakh region. One of my student, she must be in the audience. She is working on this plant. You saw her photo in the picture. She collected that from 14,000 feet. So this is, we are propagating this in our laboratory. So we have successfully propagated this plant. We are scaling it up for industrial use, and now we have identified some endophytes from this plant which produces rojavin and rojadin. And recently there are clinical report, preclinical reports that this is very good for COVID even. So for pulmonary fibrosis, this is working fine. It is recent report. So that's why this is a very, very important plant. The other plant is Vidhania coagulans. You have heard since morning about Vidhania somnifera, but this plant is a little different, but belongs to the same family, and it is known as Pani Dodi in the Punjab region. And this plant has huge medicinal property. In Ayurveda, this is used for diabetic. Still now people they take it for diabetic, and it has other medicinal properties. And this is rich in vidhanaloid, different kind of vidhanaloids. So Punjab Biodiversity Board has identified this plant as the verge of extinction. So this is gradually getting extincted, and so that's why they gave us a project to revive this plant in the region. And recently we were working on this. We have more than 1,000 plants in our culture facility of this plant. We are also propagating them under field conditions so that it can be used for translational research. So this is the kind of technology that we have developed, cost-effective method for propagations of this plant using liquid culture system, where they grow very nicely, and you can go for a bioreactor multiplication of this plant once liquid culture system has been standardized. This is another plant which is known as Tylophora indica. We have been working on this plant. We have a recent paper in collaboration for its anti-neuroinflammatory, anti-neuroinflammatory properties. And this plant is very good for pulmonary problems, for asthma, for allergy and all. And in our facility, we are growing this plant. This is Vidhania somnifera. We have been, since morning we have been talking about Vidhania somnifera. In fact, since inception of DILAB, we have been focusing on this plant, and this plant is hugely important medicinal plant because of many secondary metabolite it possesses. So lot of medicinal values of this plant is already highlighted by our previous speakers. So we have been working on a Dream Vidhania project. It's the Vidhania somnifera, which will be rich in secondary metabolite, will be resistant to diseases, and will be biotic and abiotic tolerant. And we have been working since past 20 years on this single plant. So this is the accessions that we have collected in different parts of the country, and we have kept them in our net house, and we are working on different aspects of Vidhania. In this slide, the old slide, our different approaches have been highlighted. So we are trying to multiply some of the elite cultivars of Vidhania somnifera. We are comparing some of the morphochemotypes and identifying the biosynthetic route of Vidhania is still unknown, and we are also trying to redirect some of the metabolic flux so that more metabolites could be synthesized, particularly udaferic and vidhanol. So we are using small molecule approaches, we are using gene editing approaches so that we can get appreciable amount of these metabolites in Vidhania somnifera. So beside that, we have a whole range of protocols that have been standardized in the laboratory for its multiplications, and in the laboratory conditions, you can see this is regeneration. So if you want to improve Vidhania, then you need to have a regeneration system. So otherwise you cannot go for a genetic transformation. So we have developed a regeneration system using different kind of explants of Vidhania. There are a series of papers from my lab. You can have access to all those papers, and there are still some papers yet to come on this field. There is one other which is important issue is the disease in Vidhania, because many a time we consume herbal products without paying any attention to the side effects. So quality is a very important aspect. In Vidhania, the diseases like leaf spot, which is caused by Alternaria alternata, it can cause health issues. It can be nephrotoxic, it can be cytotoxic, and it can be hepatotoxic. So that's why we have been working on how to produce a plant which is disease resistant, particularly to the leaf spot, because Alternaria produces pimonozin, which is very toxic, and that's why since many years we are working to produce a disease resistant plant, and partly we have succeeded on this. So what we have done last 5 years is identified varieties, accessions which are important. For example, the one which you see is a small plant, but it is very rich in vidaparin, and this is also resistant to leaf spot. And then we have another variety which is the biomass is large biomass, and but this is sensitive to leaf spot and doesn't have appreciable amount of vidanoid. So what we have done is we have bred these two and produced a variety, and this variety is under trial now. So this is third year of trial in the field condition, and this plant is rich in vidaparin, this is rich in vidanol, and this is also leaf spot resistant. This plant is rich in antioxidant, this plant has vigorous growth, and this plant has high oxygen, chlorophyll and all, and this is having good anti-proliferative properties. And the biomass, you can see the single plant, the biomass. So biomass is very important for industry, and you will not believe that this plant has 1,000 crore business in Amritsar itself, forget about rest of the country. So that's why you can see that developing a variety has huge implication. So this is the trial which is undergoing in our agriculture field at Guru Nanak Dev University. This is third year trial, and hopefully by next year we will be in a stage to release this variety, and this will be a good variety for the farmers. They can grow it, and in fact in Punjab, though it is 1,000 crore business in Amritsar, in Punjab there is no agro-technology which has developed for this plant. That's why this will have a lot of implication for the society. So the other aspect which we will quickly cover through is the work which we are recently doing on food and nutritional security, which fits to the theme of this conference, nutraceutical. We have been working on selected plants because malnutrition is a big issue. So that's why we are looking for such plants which are cheaper and nutritional powerhouse. So one of this which we are working at present is the sweet potato. And you might have seen sweet potato which is white in color, but this is a sweet potato which is very rich in beta carotene. From the color itself you can see this sweet potato has been developed with the collaboration with Central Tuber Research Institute, and we have been now working on this sweet potato in the Punjab conditions. So we are propagating this in tissue culture, so mass propagation in tissue culture. This is another variety of sweet potato which is very rich in anthocyanin, and you all know beta carotene and anthocyanin are pigments which are very important for different kind of elements. So this is very rich in beta carotene and anthocyanin, and now we are doing trials in GNDU. These two different varieties of the beta carotene rich and anthocyanin rich sweet potato. So they are growing very nicely. Now the tuber has started forming, and probably we will harvest this in November and December. And a lot of value additions can take place. A lot of food industry can come into this field and prepare baby food and all. And for malnutrition, this will be a good breakthrough. So this is another one which we are working, and this is beta carotene rich cauliflower, and we have been growing this. Last year we grew this in GNU, Guru Nanak Dev University Experimental Garden, and we have also with our food department, food science department, we have produced pickle, and this is very rich in beta carotene, and that's why we are working on this. Banana is a very important crop, nutritional powerhouse, but in Punjab they don't grow banana. It's a very rare sight if you see banana. So that's why we thought we should develop a protocol for banana propagation, commercial banana propagation, and we are successful in growing Grand9 banana in our laboratory conditions, and this has been transferred to the field. Now since last 2 years this is there in the field. This is growing so nicely. They have started bearing fruits. Now if you visit Guru Nanak Dev University, you will see the banana fruiting in Punjab, which is very, very rare. So we are also working on apple. Apple is the crop which is known for in Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. But this year we could get fruits of apple in Amritsar in Guru Nanak Dev University Agriculture field. And we have been working on developing the rootstock where this will be good for banana. It is said that banana headache is Dr. Ravi. So that's why we should understand why we are growing banana. And this apple you can harvest in June. So in June there is no production of apple, and that's why the cost of apple is around 225 rupees. So we are growing this which we can harvest in June, and that's why this will be a good breakthrough in giving nutrition to the society. We are growing this rootstock in our tissue culture lab, all this banana, which is very important for launching lab, and we are successfully developing this technology. Saffron. Saffron is also a medicinal plant. It has aroma, it is a costly spice, and you will not believe that this is growing in Guru Nanak Dev University. So last year we flowered saffron in our campus, and it was a news. And this saffron, we have been growing it in our tissue culture facility. You can see the cob of saffron, which is growing in our tissue culture facility, because there's a serious problem in getting the cob. So we normally get the cob either from Kashmir or from Iran or in European country. But we have been successfully multiplying in our facility. This is a hugely important medicinal plant. We know this for aroma, costly spice, but a hugely important medicinal plant. So that's why we are growing this in our facility. So because of short of time, I rushed through my slides, so I'm sorry for that, but I would rather say that plants play a very important role in health and food and nutritional security. With changing trend back to nature, it is important to explore more about plants, enhance their commercial value, and bring them to rational scientific use. With this, I thank all my collaborators, all funding agencies, particularly Dialab, Dr. Renu, Dr. Sunil, and the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and to my parent university, Guru Nanak Dev University, has allowed me to do my research. And at the end, my message to all of you: eat good food and stay healthy. Thank you.
Questions? Renu said only good questions, not bad ones. Any questions?
The student,
There is somebody in the back.
please, can you come over here?
Good morning, sir. Sir, is there any change in the quality of the saffron that you here?
This is a good question, but I think the flowering of saffron is itself a breakthrough. But we look into it when we harvest the stigma, because in saffron the stigma is important, and that bears essential phytochemicals. So we will look into it years to come.
Hari, you have to stand up.
When you grow the plant from 14,000 altitude and bring them to lab, is the composition of those phytochemicals same or
Yes, yes, this is important, and we did analysis. Unfortunately, the student I don't see here, but see will have a poster outside. We analyzed this in our laboratory, the field plant and the plant which we collected from natural habitat, and I don't think there is any use. In fact, we could find, there are publications already, we could find tissue culture plants have better phytochemicals compared to the field plant. Yes, yes, we have already 2 publications on this.
Any more questions? Not everybody's very satisfied. Thank you very much. Very, very nice, very nice.